Welcome to the Encore Effect, the podcast where music takes center stage in life's second act. Brought to you by Encore Creativity, America's largest choral organization for adults 55 and older. This inspiring series celebrates the transformative power of music, community, and creativity in the later years of life. Each episode will share moving personal stories from encore singers across the country and dive into fascinating conversations with experts in neuroscience, gerontology, and the arts. Discover how choral singing is boosting brain health, improving well-being, and lighting up the lives of thousands of older adults nationwide. From retirees finding their voice for the first time, to the science behind why doctors are prescribing music for the mind, the Encore Effect proves that creativity is endless. Join us and let the music move you.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Encore Effect. We are so glad you have joined us again this week, and so grateful for the guests that we get to talk to today and that we get to meet today. Terry Fulmer is an adjunct professor of medicine at the Geisel Medical School at Dartmouth College. Previously, she served as president of the John A. Hartford Foundation in New York City from 2015 to 2025. As chief strategist for the foundation, she was the visionary for catalyzing the age-friendly health system's social movement. She's an elected member of the National Academy of Medicine and served on the Independent Coronavirus Commission for Safety and Quality in Nursing Homes. She is a fellow of the American Academy of Nursing, Gerontological Society of America, and the New York Academy of Medicine, where she served as vice chair. Prior, she was a distinguished professor and dean of health services at Northeastern University and the founding dean of the New York University College of Nursing. Dr. Fulmer is nationally and internationally recognized as a leading expert in geriatrics and is also known for conceptualizing and developing the National Niche Program, as well as conducting research on the topics of elder abuse and neglect. She is the very first nurse to have served on the board of the American Geriatric Society. She is also the first nurse to have served as president of the Gerontological Society of America, which awarded her the 2019 Donald P. Kent Award for exemplifying the highest standards for professional leadership in the field of aging. Terry, it's so great to have you on the podcast, and welcome.
Thank you, Joshua. I'm so happy to be with you and just delighted to join you and your audience.
So Terry, I know you in so many ways. I know you as a leader in the field. I know you as a funder of Encore's work. I know you as a singer in one of our choirs, and just an advocate for the aging field, but specifically Arts for Health. How did you get connected to Encore?
Sure. Well, it's interesting. I had been thinking about joining a choir in New York and looking for one that would allow the inclusion of people who weren't necessarily trained in music. And I found Encore and I went, wait a minute, I think that I remember that Dr. Gene Cohen was very interested in music and aging. And I began to read more about the way in which Dr. Cohen's work when he was at the National Institute on Aging as a geriatric psychiatrist really showed us about mood, social connectivity, and cognitive functioning, and how it improves when you're engaged in music and the arts. So I was all in from that moment, and I just really love Encore and love participating with you and love the science of it.
And Terry, have you been singing your entire life? Did you come back to music? Like, what's your journey been?
So we have a musical family, and music was always a part of our family constellation, whether it be classical music playing in the background or whether we were going to a Broadway show. It was always there. And so we are all musical. My sister went to Syracuse on a music scholarship for her beautiful voice, and all of us had the lead in our high school plays. And when I went to Skidmore College, I was in the choir and traveled across Europe with that choir. And then as I began my nursing journey, it took a sideline. And I, as you know, I'm very passionate about my nursing. And as I have come into this part of my life, I thought, let me reconnect with my music. And so some of that has to do also with my a phenomenal music teacher when I was in high school, David Reardon. And Dave Reardon gave his 100% to each of us in this very rural community upstate New York at West Canada Valley Central School and changed our lives. And so it's full circle.
I love that. And what about, as you are singing now, and you just told me you joined one of our online choirs, so you're still singing. What are some myths or about aging and creativity that you think still need to be challenged? Dr. Gene Cohen did such good work in 2001 with this study and really helped, momentum and really became the catalyst for the creative aging movement across our country. But, there's still a lot of stigmatism around it that maybe older adults can't still participate in the arts the way they used to. So
Yeah.
how do you feel about that?
Well, I think that Gene he was prescient, and there he was doing this work in the 80s. He just knew. And I think that there's ageism in this country, and that is you get to a certain age and people begin to think that they can't participate anymore in certain things they've always loved. And Encore has really been a myth buster for that. I I think that people say, well, my voice isn't good anymore. Well, your voice is good. Your voice is just different. And maybe it is, and by the way, maybe it is different, maybe it isn't. But your voice has meaning and purpose, and it has a place to belong, and that's Encore.
Love that. That's a great commercial for us. Thank you, Terry.
From the
So
heart.
your journey's been amazing, starting nursing and as an educator, as an administrator, as a foundation leader, and you have a great understanding of the aging field as a whole. How do you feel like music and creativity and the arts, how does that fit into growing older in a more healthy way?
Yeah. Well, again, back to the science of it, we know that there are data that show us that when you engage in music and the arts, you can demonstrate improved mood, connection, cognitive functioning, and that there's just really so much to know about the way that the brain and its neuroplasticity can stay vibrant as you get older. So, the evidence about the way in which music and the arts really helps nourish us as we get older is very powerful. And I think that everybody should just consider arts to be an important part of their day-to-day life.
Hmm. We've just kind of started on this journey of the podcast. We've already had some amazing guests. Now you're one of the people that are part of this
Uh,
conversation. We use words like geriatrics and gerontology and some of these big words. And if someone's listening to the podcast, just kind of learning about all of this, can you explain what that means, what those terms mean?
yes. So the when we think about geriatrics, that's the medical study of aging. And so geriatrics usually is associated with clinical care. Gerontology is the all-encompassing biopsychosocial aspects of aging. And all of these words really, if you ask the person on the street, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. So pediatrics was fairly new in the 30s, 40s, and then geriatrics really became prominent in the 50s, 60s. And so it's a young field. I think that people don't like to talk about their own aging because it does come with changes in our bodies and our function that can be um, um, confusing and sometimes uncomfortable. But when I look around at the people who are just embracing their aging and doing all they can to maintain their connectivity, I see what we call successful aging.
I love that. I love the term that's being used now we feel like we're doing all that we can as an organization with our mission to combat ageism. And I love the term age possibility, right? Like
Yes.
really turning this on its head and being a part of a participatory program. So it's one thing to consume the arts, right? To go and see the ballet or a symphony or a great music program. And it's such a privilege to get to do that. But there's something about being able to participate in the arts, to be in that rehearsal space, to be on that stage. What would you say to organizations, arts organizations, why they should embrace participatory aging programs in their assimilating into what they're already doing?
Right. I think I think just reminding people to check their own ageism and make
Mm,
sure that they aren't making decisions around a number like 65 versus a flourishing human being in front of you. And to figure out ways to stay inclusive. For example, at I'm going to give another plug for Encore. People come in wheelchairs. People
mm.
come and there's ramps that help them get to where they're going. And there are people who have vision limitations and there are large print. So these things are make it feasible and they make it welcoming and they bring joy to the lives of people who participate.
Yeah, one of the questions we ask on our registration form is how can we support any accessibility needs you might have? If someone has Parkinson's and they have a tremor, we're going to make sure they have a music stand in front of them so they don't have to hold their music. If they feel immunocompromised in any way, we're going to make sure that they can sit off to the side and be embraced as a part of the choir. I think accessibility is a big part of creative aging.
And also combating ageism.
And also combating ageism. Yeah, because it really breaks down those barriers. Let's go back to your musical journey because I could talk all day with you about fancy things because you know it all so well. But let's go back to your own musical journey.
Mhm.
What's a moment in your life, Terry, where music really helped you get through a difficult period, or on the other side, maybe helped you really celebrate a core memory, a joyous time in your life?
Mm. Uh, so I'd go back to David Reardon and also Varnum Harris. These are two of my high school teachers who had and Bonnie Sweet, who was my elementary music teacher. They they cared. They included everybody. They made it possible for those of us. And I grew up in a little town called Newport, New York. There's like 500 people there. And my high school was a regional high school with about, I don't know, 6 communities. And there were 70 people in my graduating class. Everybody was included. Everybody had a role. But Dave Reardon and Varnum also took us to New York City to see a show. They made sure we got to Allstate, made sure that we had access to instruments, and they did fundraisers. They cared. And by the way, Dave Reardon is with me right now, not in the room, but I mean, I talk to him minimum of once every other week, and he's 96 years old, and his continuing uh, ability to sing in his church choir is so, so important to him. And so I think that not only does he demonstrate it for us, but he made sure that he used his very special talent to embrace all of us, regardless of our, whether or not we had talent or not. It didn't matter. It was that we were included and that we felt important in that work. I played bassoon, I played piano. I really loved all of it. Didn't continue that in my adult life, but learned so much about teamwork, by the way. When you think about a choir, it's teamwork. And that teamwork works in healthcare, by the way, when you learn who's playing what part and how you complement one another. That's pretty cool, really.
That is really cool. And I had no idea you were so multi-talented, a bassoon player. That is very, very cool. So, you just alluded to teamwork. We think about, encore creativity. We celebrate all the arts forms and we celebrate singing of any kind, but we really focus on choral singing. And
Yes.
when you think about coming into a rehearsal space, whether it's online or in person, and you're lifting your voices with a community of others, What do you think is so special about that choral singing? Beyond the teamwork, which you already alluded to, are there other things that come to mind that you think of that we gain by
Yeah.
choral singing specifically?
Well, you mentioned, I was part of one of the choral groups on the Upper East Side, and I saw the social networking that went on. A couple of weeks into the semester, if you will, people were saying, well, why don't we get coffee before or after, or maybe we could practice together. And as somebody who's been in geriatrics my entire career, I thought this is exactly what we're talking about, finding community, finding relationships that are fulfilling. That's really such an important part of Encore and all the different ways in which older people can participate in their music.
It's so important as we age to have something to look forward to every single week,
Yes.
right? Or even every single day, but at least once a week or a couple of times a week to say, this is what I'm really looking forward to. And I think I know Encore is that to so many people. They're rehearsing, they're getting ready, and they're looking forward to that next rehearsal and that next time to be socially connected, in such a big way. I see this with my parents now. My parents just recently retired, Terry, and they were so involved in their jobs and they were so involved in community. They moved and retired and seeing how different life is now for them. They've got to be really intentional about connecting with others. It could be so easy just to like hang out at home, and like,
Yeah.
not that that's not bad, but like you got to be more intentional about those connections as you age.
Well, I think that intentionality is exactly the point of opportunities to engage in something that you've loved in the past or something you want to learn about now. You don't have to have had a musical past to join a choir and enjoy it.
So, what would you hope that people would understand about us as we age, humans as we age, that second half of life? If
Yeah.
you're talking to a younger generation, what advice do you have for them?
The typical advice is eat well, exercise, sleep well, and all of those are true. But I'd also say embrace your function and use
Mm.
it to its fullest capacity. And whether that's your ability to sing or your ability to take hikes or your ability to mentor younger people, just really embrace the function you have and the capacity you have to give back to your community and gain from your community through that exchange.
And tell me, that was a beautiful answer, by the
Oh,
way. I
good.
wasn't expecting you to say eat well and exercise well, but yes, we absolutely should. Like,
Yeah.
get it right now. Um, Tell me about if people were talking to you, Terry, and they were saying, I've always wanted to sing. It's always been a dream of mine, or I sang when I was younger and have put it away for 50 or 60 years, but they were really hesitant about it. What would you say to them?
One of the reasons that they're hesitant is because some of the choirs are quite off-putting. That you have to come in and you have to audition. The minute you say audition, you're going to turn off a very substantial proportion of people who thought they might want to participate because they don't want to go in, they don't want to be made fun of, they don't want to fail. So that welcoming, you don't have to audition. You can join us where you are. So I would say look for the opportunities where you can join as you are and have fun with it. Isn't that what we're trying to do? We're trying to have fun with this incredible opportunity to engage with other people and cherish the music around us.
Mm, I love that. We say that at Encore, whatever experience you've had, whatever journey you've been on musically, bring that into the rehearsal room and we'll meet you where you are.
Yep.
And I think that's a great way to think of it. So, as we go, I can't believe our time is already up. What's your favorite music? Like if I were to go to your Spotify,
Huh.
Terry, or to your Sirius XM, what would I find?
Oh, you'd find everything, Josh. You really would. I love to keep up with the newest music entering society. I love that. I do love Broadway. I love classical music, love jazz. I'm trying to think of music I don't like. That there really isn't music that I don't like. I think that sometimes it depends on your mood. Today, do I feel like Mozart or do I feel like the Beatles? It's like,
Yeah.
and with you and I know that my career has shifted with the birth of 3 grandchildren within the course of 14 months and 2 more coming. And we start every day with music. Thomas, I start with the Beatles, and it's hilarious. He's now, let's see, Thomas is 9 months old. And with Fifi, for some reason, we do a lot of Elton John. And this morning, I was with my oldest granddaughter, who is now 16 months, and she just bursts into song no matter where she is, which I think is hilarious. Whether it's people on the bus or whether it's some jingle she picked up at one of her, and the smiles that come with that music and watching their little heads bop, bop, bop when they hear it. It's universal. It lifts us all from the very first months of our lives till the end of our lives. And as a person who has worked in nursing homes, watching what music can do to soothe and calm someone who may be in distress, it's powerful.
It really is. Your grandkids are going to have excellent taste in music as they get older.
Well, then we do Mozart at noon.
There you go. There you
You
go.
know?
All the styles. My Spotify wrapped up this year said that based off my listening, my age is 86.
Oh, good
So
for
I
you.
would take that as a compliment.
I love it. I love it. Well, we all
Terry,
need to just enjoy it.
that's right. Terry, it's been such a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you for what you've done for the field, how you've supported Encore personally, and I'm so glad that you're going to keep singing with us.
Thanks, Joshua. It means the world to me to join you today. Thank you for your leadership, and we're all cheering you on.
Thank you, Terry. And thank you, listeners, for joining us. We're so happy to talk about arts and aging and health and all the good things about choral singing week in and week out. Join us again next time on The Encore Effect.